were indeed a queer-looking party that assembled on the bank, the birds with dragged feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them and dripping all wet, and they were gross and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. When they had a consultation about this, in a few minutes it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them, as she had known them all her life. Indeed, she was quite a long argument with the Lorry, who had turned sulky and only would say, "I am older than you, I must know better," and Alice would not allow knowing how old it was. Lorry positively refused to tell her age, and there was no more to be said. At last the mouse, who seemed to be a person of some authority among them, called out, "Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough." They all sat down at once in a large ring, the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixed on it, as she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. "Ahem," said the mouse with an important air. "Are you ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all around, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose the cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted by the English, who wanted leaders, and had been of late much accustomed or superation in conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of America and Northumbria." "Ugh," said the lorry with a shiver. "I beg your pardon," said the mouse, frowning, but very politely. "Did you speak?" "Not I," said the lorry hastily. "I thought you did," said the mouse. "I proceeded. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of America and Northumbria, declared for him, and even said Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable." "Speak English," said the eaglet. "I don't know the meaning of half of those words, and what's more, I don't believe you either." And the eaglet bent down to hide its head a smile. Some of the other birds timbered audibly. "What I was going to say," said the dodo in an offered tone, "was the best thing to get us dry would be the Cancucus race." "What is the Cancucus race?" said Alice. Not that she wanted to know, but the dodo had paused and thought that somebody ought to speak, and no one else seemed to inclined to say anything. "Why," said the dodo, "the best way to explain it to us is to do it. There was no 1, 2, 3 away. They just began running like they liked, and left off when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had begun running half an hour or so, they were quite dry again. The dodo suddenly called, "The race is over," and the crowd round it, panting and asking, "But who won?" The question the dodo could not answer with a great deal of thought. He sat for a long time with one finger pressed down on his forehead, while the rest waited in silence. At least at this, the dodo said, "Everybody has won. All must have prizes." "But who is to give the prizes?" quite a chorus of voices asked. "Why, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing to Alice with one finger, and the whole party at once crowded round her, calling in a confused way, "Prizes, prizes!" Then they all crowded round her once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elephant thimble." And when it finished this sort of speech, they all cheered. Alice thought the whole thing was very absurd, but they all looked so grave that it did not dare to laugh, and she could not think of anything to say. She simply bowed, and thimble, looking as solemn as she could. The next thing was to eat it. This caused some noise and confusion, as the large birds complained they could not taste theirs, and the small ones choked and had to be patted on the back. "Promise to tell me a history, you know," said Alice. "And why this is hate C and D," she added in a whisper, half afraid that she would get offended again. "You are not attending," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. "You had got to the fifth bend, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse sharply and very angry. "A not," said Alice, always ready to make herself useful, and looking anxiously about her. "Oh, let me help you undo it." "I shall do nothing of the sort," said the mouse, getting up and walking away. "You insult me by talking such nonsense." "I didn't mean it," pleaded poor Alice, "but you're so easily offended, you know." The mouse only growled in reply. "Please come back and finish your story," Alice called after it, and the others joined in the chorus. "Yes, please do." But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. Dina's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. You can't think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Wow, she'll eat a little bird as soon as she took a look at it. I wish I hadn't mentioned Dana, she said to herself in a Macaulay voice. Nobody seems to like her down there, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dana, I wish if I ever see you any more. And poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt she was very lonely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping the mouse had changed his mind, and he was coming back to finish his story.